All right, welcome on in, everybody. It's Fighters Fury here on 790 The Ticket. Little update on the podcast here. If you guys noticed, it's up late today. So to give you guys the reasons for that, taped the show for Sunday. Spoiler alert for everybody, although it's a little bit damage is done, my friend. Now, so I wanted to get you guys something for Sunday. I wasn't going to be able to be there live because I was in Orlando for my son's birthday. We were taking him to SeaWorld and had a great time, had a fantastic time. And I was going to just probably keep it the same podcast unless anything really spectacular happened in the First Fight Island card, which it did. It was actually a couple things. I was going to do a new segment to send in to Antoine, who produces this stuff for me, if I ever need to do that. And I said, I'm only going to do it if Khabib comes out of retirement. And so lo and behold, I get there on Saturday morning and there's this big Khabib decision that's going to come. Dana White teases it. He's like 3 p.m. ABC, tune in, Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's going to decide on his future, because all these videos that came out from the day before where they have a closed door meeting. And I guess Dana was there for like a looking for a fight type of thing where they were doing the Eagle Fighting Championship that Nurmagomedov has been teasing. So they do the video of his closed door meeting, and all right, we're gonna see what the decision is. And so in the midst of all of this, I'm at SeaWorld, and I'm waiting at the Shark Cafe where you can go and eat. Whenever I go to SeaWorld with my family, as an aside, I go to this underwater shark cafe because, quite frankly, the food at Seafood sucks. I mean, it's among the worst of theme parks. But they have this one restaurant, this shark restaurant, where you can go and you could watch the sharks swim. And it's more money, but like I always look at it as like, if I'm going to spend a bunch of money on food, I'll spend a little bit more to be satisfied rather than spend a lot to be just wildly dissatisfied. So I'd rather than spending like $75, which I'm going to end up spending at, whatever bogus cafe they have there for chicken tenders and a pulled pork sandwich, I would rather spend the $100 at their restaurant. And it was one of those things. It was one of those things where I was like, all right, we'll sit this out. But it was a long wait. They're obviously not letting a lot of people in because of COVID. It was like half filled, if that. They had like no staff. So I'm seeing some of the card go up, but I'm waiting for this Nurmagomedov decision to bring it back to this. And they get to it, and he's like, yeah, Khabib is coming back if somebody impresses him in the main event and the co-main event. That he was also blown away by Charles Oliveira. So it's kind of like maybe I'll think about coming back, but somebody has to do something really spectacular. So I don't know what that means. Everybody was wildly disappointed by this because it felt like, I honestly thought the way that he put out the decision, because the way he said it is like, I'm going to announce Khabib's decision, and I'm going to announce what that means for the main event and the co-main event. So it made it seem like, to me, and I think a lot of people, that he wasn't coming back and that Dana was going to announce that the main event was for the championship and that the co-main event was the number one contendership. That's the way I read it. And what it really came down to was kind of a big bleep tease by Dana White that you should buy the pay-per-view because if one of these guys does an amazing thing, maybe Khabib will come back out of retirement and fight. So it did too. Like, you feel like you got the old honey trick into the ABC card if you weren't tuning in, which had a lot of competition, was going up against NFL football that day, and now you feel that way, I think, somewhat for the pay-per-view, which I really don't think should need the Khabib tie-in. Like, Conor's coming back to fight for the first time in a year. Feels like that should be enough, but whatever. So, as far as who would impress him, okay, so the way I lead it out of that is, okay, he's still not keen on fighting Conor. He's still not keen on fighting. He's still not keen on going with somebody who he's already choked out. And I kind of get that from Nurmagomedov. The only thing is, like, so you're telling me, like, what if Michael Chandler, like, head kicks Dan Hooker? You're going to come back and fight? Or you're going to tell me that Dan Hooker, if he's spectacular against Michael Chandler, like, deserves to jump Dustin, and Dustin beat the holy hell out of him, even though you beat Dustin? Charles Oliveira, I will say this with Khabib. And I love Nurmagomedov, don't get me wrong, and I feel like it's a crime we're not getting more of him because it feels like he's getting better every single fight. But the idea that he would go fight Oliveira after one win over Tony Ferguson, after us getting, jerked around for all of these years and never getting the Tony Ferguson fight, and him finding any reason not to fight Tony Ferguson, or the fight gods not making the Tony Ferguson fight happen, and you give the guy who beat Tony Ferguson, beat the holy hell out of him, don't get me wrong, he dominated Tony, but the fact that you would give him that fight right after that, it's not an easy fight, don't get me wrong, but it feels wrong. It's like one of those things, like, what's not that but feels that? That's what that, like, it's not wrong that you want to fight Charles Oliveira, but it feels wrong that you want to fight Charles Oliveira and not Tony Ferguson. And I get it. Look, Tony's now, this is 2 fights in a row, 10 rounds in a row that he's lost. Feels a little bit like the Woodley cliff that he's kind of going off, but it sucks. It still sucks as a fight fan. So this brings me to the main event. And this brings me to Max Holloway. So, as I told you, I was at SeaWorld, right? And I see the news. I'm not really watching the fights. I saw Joaquin Buckley get head kicked. I saw that highlight. Crazy. That's like paying. You've used all of your token with the head kick gods when you lose like that after having the highlight reel knockout that he had to have last year. But so my daughter wants to go see the dolphin show where the dolphins jump and do the tricks. I've seen it 1,000 times. SeaWorld can dress this up as many times. Look, SeaWorld you could rank in three ways, all right? They got 3 main shows. They got the Sea Lions, which is a parody show. Hilarious. Always love it. Love the cheesy jokes. Never not funny. Always there for a good time. Orca show, obviously a tradition. You go see the orcas. Even though people feel poorly that the orcas are there. I get it. But, staple of SeaWorld. We actually didn't even go to the orca shows this time. And then, of course, you have the dolphin show, which I'd rather go to the dolphin nurse and go watch the dolphins. Neither here nor there. Point is, seen the dolphin show 1,000 times. They've tried to do everything with it. Standard dolphin show, ride the dolphin show, try to turn it into a fairy tale with dolphin princesses. They've done it all. I mean, I've seen... Because I would say SeaWorld is probably a place I frequent a lot. I do like SeaWorld. And the wife being teacher, she gets to go for free. Kids are young. One of them usually gets a deal. As far as amusement parks, it's a great deal. Plus, they actually have some pretty badass roller coasters. And they're getting another one. But I am there at the arena, the dolphin arena, watching these mammals flip. And we go there early. My daughter wants to go there early because she wants to see the trainer talk. And then she wants to see the show. So the show's at 5:30. 5:10 is when the trainer show starts. And so I was like, all right. So I look at my phone, walkout starting. And I get the SeaWorld wireless, which was kind of spotty. But in this particular arena, it was great, I guess, because they probably have all the equipment there or whatnot. So hooked up onto that. Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. Right there in my palm. Fantastic. So I'm watching this thing. And it, Max Holloway's coming into this thing. What's he going to look like coming off of the Volkanovski fights? Everybody's looking at him as the uncrowned champ. Calvin Kattar, tremendous boxer, number 6 in the world. Can he be a guy who catches Max with something, who throws a lot of volume? Can he get him with something dangerous? Feels like it has the makings to be a really great back and forth fight. Except it wasn't. It was just a fantastic one-sided performance from Max Holloway. I mean, he was so breathtakingly good on this thing with his arsenal especially his hands. I mean, there aren't many guys who are better volume attackers than Max. The way he wears people out with his strikes, the diversification, I don't know if that's even a word, that he hits people with from head to body. He really just feels like he doesn't want to leave one place for you to be comfortable. He's going to find every inch of you. And that's what this was, man. And he was not only that, he was showboating. I mean, he was making Calvin Kattar miss. It was a brutal, brutal showing. And, what he doesn't do with those hands when he gets into close range, I mean, he hits with those hellacious elbows, gashing you up. Just what you would come to expect from Max Holloway, but are also marveling that he's just still this good after this many years in the sport. But then you realize that he's not even old. He's just been doing this forever. And I think as far as an approval rating goes with fans, I don't know anybody who doesn't like Max Holloway or the respect that he has from his fellow fighters. I remember doing an interview with Masvidal back after his Darren Till win, and he was doing this talk at an elementary school. And he says that it wasn't just that, Dustin Poirier, it was after Poirier got the win and before he was going to fight Ben Askren. And he was like, it wasn't just that Poirier got the win. It was the fact that he did it against Max. I mean, Max just has that respect from everybody. And what he was doing in this with the versatility that he was hitting Calvin Kattar with, by round 4, a lot of people were wondering, should the fight have been stopped? I could have seen it. I think the only thing that you could say back is like, look, Calvin Kattar had the heart of a lion, and he was throwing back any opportunity. Anytime he had the wherewithal to pick up his arms and swing at Max, he was doing it. He hit him with some big stuff. And Herb Dean, sometimes with Herb, he wants his pound of flesh, man. Like, you never quite know what mood Herb Dean's going to be on a certain night. I could see the argument for it being stopped in the 4th round. I don't find it to be one of the most egregious that I've ever seen in my life. But it was funny, man. I'm like watching this thing and like dolphins are flipping and it was like, ooh! And I feel like a couple dads were looking over my shoulders too, like getting their binoculars going, because we weren't on top of each other, obviously, with the social distance and whatnot. But I could tell some dads were like, this guy's got it down. He's watching the Dolphins. It looks like he's watching the Dolphin show, but really he's got the UFC in his pocket. Yeah, it did. But this performance by Max Holloway with the trash talk, he's screaming, I'm the best boxer in the UFC. He's talking to the broadcasters. And, this was the honest reaction that I had after that. Because, mind you, I'm mulling over the Khabib thing while it's going on. And I'm seeing penguins. And I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't Max fight Khabib? Why not? Because let's think about this. Max has only had one fight at lightweight. It was against Dustin Poirier. And Poirier beat the hell out of him. Max screams he's the best boxer in the UFC. It might be Poirier. There's 2 guys who are going to be fighting next week that have an argument for that. Conor, obviously, he went 10 rounds with the best boxer of the last 25 years. There's Poirier, who is a guy who, if you call yourself the best boxer, you have a guy who greatly outboxed you, even if it was a weight class above. Masvidal, for sure, one of the best boxers in the sport. I think Nate has some claim to that as well, but I would say George is probably a cut above that. Stipe, great boxing skill set that he brings to the table, for sure. So those are some of the ones that come to mind. If I'm missing any, I'm sure you guys will light me up and let me know. But those are the ones that immediately come to mind. I'm trying to think. Cody Garbrandt got some pretty damn good boxing. But this performance by Max was just spectacular. And really, it made me think, like, who is going to be more spectacular than that on the next card? If somebody is more spectacular than that, holy hell, are we in for an amazing UFC 257. But I really thought about it, because remember, we were supposed to get Max Holloway versus Khabib. It ended up being Al Iaquinta. But remember, Max was going to step in. I believe this was the card where Tony tore up his knee doing media, and Max was going to ride in, and he had a ton of weight to lose. and the commission stopped him. They didn't. It's not that he didn't even make weight. The commission wouldn't let him cut weight because they didn't like how he was looking. And there was like all the stories that he had like 30 pounds of weight to lose. And I know the immediate brushback from people will be, yeah, but he's already lost. He's lost his lone fight at lightweight. Well, a couple things. One, fine. That's an okay argument. I don't think it's great because we've seen guys get, title fights off of law. We've just seen that Yoel Romero did it twice. Two, for Khabib, in this little area of, oh, you have to impress me. I don't know what the two guys in this main event, they're the two other contenders at this division right now, the two top contenders deserving, I would say. I don't know what they could do for Nurmagomedov to feel like, oh, I want to fight them. Dan Hooker, he just lost to Poirier. So if we're going to say, Max lost recently, yeah, so is Dan Hooker. So is Michael Chandler. It's not like Michael Chandler has this huge win streak he's riding. Oliveira's got the biggest win streak. So if you just want to go off of win streaks, I guess you would go Oliveira in that regard. But Max, we were excited about Max Holloway stepping in on late nose to fight Khabib. We were excited about that fight. The other thing is, there is a ton of people right now, yours truly included, who believes he is the uncrowned featherweight champion of the world. That he is the guy who deserves to have the belt around his waist right now. And this Volkanovski thing is, kind of the big wet fart elephant in the room right now, because Max is deserving of fighting for the championship. Volkanovski's going to fight Ortega, but there's a lot of people that don't believe Volkanovski won that second fight and that Max is kind of in no man's land, because I get Volkanovski not wanting to fight him a third time because he's going to have to knock him out, it feels like, for people to be pleased with the performance. So, Max talks about afterwards, I'm just into big fights. I'm just into legacy fights. I'm here to step in for either one of those guys if they can't make the walk next week, which I think would be really cool if he was able to do this. But if he's going to be able to be in that spot, if he's ready to make the leap to 155, why not just let him fight Khabib? Who's going to, you're not going to buy that fight? You're not into that fight? You're telling me Max isn't enough of a badass to get that one for you? I would love that fight. Max Holloway is as bona fide an OG as it gets in this game. He is a champion. He is arguably the best featherweight of all time. And I think that argument got even stronger with this last win. I just, who wouldn't love that? Who wouldn't love Max Holloway versus Khabib Nurmagomedov? I think it's a fantastic fight. He's deserving of it. He for sure has the resume and the credentials and everything that should warrant Nurmagomedov from wanting to fight you. So that was my immediate takeaway from that Max Holloway fight. Not only that the performance was awesome while I was watching dolphins flip in the air from my peripherals, but with the whole day getting put together of Khabib saying, through Dana saying, maybe I'll fight if somebody super impresses me, which is not really a thing. I guess the question really would be, is this a fight that would get Khabib out of retirement? I think it would. I mean, you're beating a guy, maybe would the argument be, oh, he doesn't really he doesn't get anything out of his resume from beating Max Holloway? Let me ask you something. What would mean more to Khabib's legacy? Beating Michael Chandler, guy who came in for belt. And I don't mean this as disrespect, but I love Michael Chandler, but career Bellator fighter. Dan Hooker, who's, kind of on the cusp. You're beating a guy who's really a new on the scene. Charles Oliveira, hardcores probably would love it. But again, new to the scene, just kind of rising into it as far as true title contender watch for him. Or beating either Conor or Dustin twice. I would say probably, beating Conor twice. That's always going to be one people remember for sure. But honestly, of those four guys, Max being at the peak of his game, having a performance like that, and the fact that he in a lot of people's eyes is right now the true 145-pound champion of the world. He's had one crack at 155 pounds. Yeah, he got beaten up by a guy who's been one of the best lightweights on the planet for the last 5 years. There's no shame in that game. This is not boxing. So I say they do it. I don't know if they will, but I think they should.